The first one is, how has COVID-19 affected your business? And we're going to break it down into 6 or 7 different segments because it's a lot to digest. Obviously, it's affected many, many, many different areas of our business. So the first one, I think we will start discussing about the impact on your employees, yourselves and your employees and the organizations that you represent. So again, Jody, I think I'll start with you.
Let's keep the trend going.
Yeah.
So as you can see, I'm not in a typical office setting. On the business services side of Christensen Farms, we are working from home and have been since about the middle of March. But as I'm sure Natasha and John will all also share, that farming is not a job that can be done from a desk or over the internet. And so really it does require people to be hands-on in the barns with the animals, in the feed mills, making the feed, delivering it, washing the trailers that are moving the pigs around. So it's very, very hands-on. And I have to say, I mean, we certainly expected some disruptions on the employee side, but our team has just been absolutely incredible, continuing to show up, as well as our contract partners, making sure that those animals are cared for every single day. It's just been, our entire team is just so humbled and grateful for that. We are all on this call essential employees as part of continuing to provide food, and I would say our group takes that responsibility very seriously. That said, because we are having to be together on farms, we have staggered start times and end times, break times. We have added PP, or I guess face coverings we've made them available to all of our employees. So we do have PPE on farm normally, with dust masks for certain jobs, as well as gloves for covering. Safety glasses are required at all times in the farms anyway. So additional things would be the face coverings, and then the social distancing and spreading out as much as we possibly can within the farms. On the front end of all of this, you certainly don't want to, sometimes people have to choose, am I going to come to work even if I'm not feeling well because I need the paycheck or I don't have any time off in my bank? And Christensen Farms just wanted to take that off the table right at the beginning and said, you know what? Here's 80 hours. It's for you to use. It will not be, if you have your vacation built up, that's going to be there for you. But this really is for you to make sure that you have what you need financially, and feel like you can take time off of work to care for yourself, to care for your family if you have impact by COVID, or if you can't find childcare. I think on the beginning of this, working through, particularly in Minnesota, with the tier 1 and tier 2, and making sure that we had access to childcare, like healthcare and the other emergency responders had. So making sure that we were taking care of our employees that way. But as I mentioned, our main office has been closed, other than a few people making sure that our IT is up and running and that we are continuing to get the mail and pay the bills. But we're really, really grateful that on the live operation side of things, people have been continuing to just remain committed, and so far so good.
Great. You mentioned PPE, which we're all becoming very familiar with. That's all we hear about is PPE. But can you discuss why you use PPE prior to this from a biosecurity standpoint, why that's important?
That is a great question. So the PPE PPE stands for personal protective equipment. And in farming, there's a lot of jobs that can have hazards that we don't have when we're not working with animals or we're not working in an agricultural setting. So things like when we're cleaning the barns and using power washers, we want to make sure that we're protecting the employees' eyes from any debris that would get in there. From the gloves, there's some of the jobs, when you're handling the baby piglets, you just want to make sure that you are changing your gloves in between each of those, and you're not contaminating or bringing different, disease or bacteria from one pig to another. So making sure that we're practicing those things in our farm, and again, those are very routine. The dust masks, again, would be for those jobs that are sometimes dusty. If you're cleaning out a barn, you're power washing, or sometimes people have more sensitive asthma or whatever. So they're there as an option, but there are certain jobs that are just a little dirtier in the barn that that you want to make sure that people's lungs are protected.
Excellent. Thank you. Natasha, you talk about the impact on your employees at Riverview and yourself on your own farm.
Sure. On our personal farm, not a lot has changed because we're just our family. So, the kids are home a lot more now that they're online learning. So actually we've gotten a lot more accomplished than we would normally. And the weather has been really awesome. So we don't have a muddy lot and it's kind of great. So there's some really positives in the world when it comes to weather anyways.
There you go.
But other than that, it's honestly not that much different on our home farm. At the dairy farm, we've had to, and on the feedlots, it's really important. I think that everyone knows when you have a farm, you have to still do everything. Nothing can stop because of this. So our big focus is trying to provide the best employee atmosphere that allows everyone to stay healthy. So a few things that we're doing, it's going to be really similar to everybody probably, but, masks, really encouraging people to wear masks, even when they see other people not doing that, because that's our big conversation right now is you're going to see other people not doing it when you go to the gas station, but you should do it, right? And trying to just be leaders and making sure we're doing those things as well. But all the lunchrooms, we took all the group tables out and put individual tables in, all 6 feet apart. It's just creating all the social distancing. We basically tell everyone you should have a cow between you and the next person at all times. Adult cows about 6 feet. So, and just really encouraging everybody to really change up how they're doing things so that we can just keep distance between people. If people do not feel well, they stay home, and that is understood by everybody, and there are absolutely no consequences for doing so. Like everything is going to be fine. We're going to make sure everyone's taken care of. If you don't feel good, you don't need to come. As far as we do hire and utilize immigration because we can't find enough local people to cover a lot of the jobs that we have on the farm. And with that, the changes in that, we quarantine, and we tell people, if you were traveling, you have to quarantine, and they have 14 days where they're, not able to work, but they're being paid for that time. So, just trying to really encourage people to stay healthy. As everyone here will say, if one person gets it and it just travels, we have to have a workforce because cows need to be milked twice a day. They need to be fed twice a day. We can't just stop what we're doing. So I would say those are the big things on our end, is just really providing an atmosphere where all of this is possible, and not having in-person meetings, I think Zoom is, whoever had stock in Zoom, smart, right?
Right.
I would have saw that coming.
That was me.
Crazy. So I think that it's just, you do what you have to do to keep everyone healthy, because we cannot have a farm without human capital. Humans run the farm. Animals can't take care of themselves, even though I know some people would like to believe they really can. The farm animals need humans to help them. So we're just trying to all stay healthy.
I have a follow-up question, Natasha. So have you seen any disruptions in the immigration needs that are there for Riverview?
Well, actually, the immigration, as far as seasonal immigrants, which only helps us in certain areas of farming. If you look at seasonal immigrants, they have to do seasonal work. So a lot of us sitting here today, we don't have a lot of things that are technically seasonal. However, farm work and things like that are seasonal. So we do have access to immigration that is seasonal workers. They're called an H-2A if you pay attention to the news. And so that has actually been expanded, and the government is really working hard because we need this in the United States, because we can't find people that want to do that kind of work here in all the places we need it and in the quantity. As far as the TN visa through NAFTA, that is the visa we utilize most inside the actual dairy farm, because you can't use a seasonal worker. That has some disruption. So we're just day by day, just like everybody in the whole earth right now. I think it's day by day, you just go with it, and we got to figure it out. So
right.
there definitely is disruption, but there's also really good things happening too. So the government is well aware. Sonny Perdue is an awesome Secretary of Agriculture. I really appreciate him, and I think he really gives President Trump really good advice. So I've seen some really good things happen, and hopefully that continues.
Excellent. Thank you. How about you, John? The impact on employees at Ferndale Market?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, certainly a lot of parallels with what both Natasha and Jody said. I mean, it is such an interesting time for all of us being essential. I mean, everybody, virtually everybody within our organization is doing a frontline kind of a role, whether they're caring for turkeys or working in our store or doing deliveries and distribution. So I think the thing that strikes me is how much this situation has evolved since we first started talking about it with employees. I actually looked back as I was giving thought to this conversation, and it was like 6 weeks ago when we had our first discussion with staff members. Then, of course, at that time, the message was, if you don't feel well, stay home. There won't be any pay penalty or vacation penalty. It's important that we protect everybody here. And I think initially that was somewhat of a difficult message for, Midwestern work ethic, ag folks, we're used to getting up and working through it. We had to really continue to beat that drum. The most important thing here is to protect your neighbor. So do not show up if you don't feel well. Thankfully on the farm side, the social distancing happens pretty naturally. I mean, a lot of the work with turkeys is, might be true with beef or the dairy world or pigs. A lot of those jobs are fairly socially distanced by nature. And so that hasn't had to change all that much. In our retail store, we're requiring all of our staff to wear masks. At our warehouse, it's really had a big impact on, of course, demand patterns, which we'll talk about, but that flows through to deliveries and, where we're delivering and how we're delivering. Obviously, stores and distributors are implementing a lot of new policies in terms of how they're receiving product. So there's been a lot of change for the employees throughout our whole organization. The one thing that might be a positive to come out of this, I tend to be a glass half full. If there's a positive, I do think that nationally people are having recognition for how essential all of the employees in the food production and food supply chain are. And I think we'd all agree that those are oftentimes the folks that are forgotten. But whether it's the frontline worker at a grocery store or the person caring for turkeys, those are extremely important jobs. And interesting that the time we find ourselves in now, those are the essential employees who may not be getting most of the recognition most of the time.
Yeah, I second that. You put it perfectly, because they are the forgotten people, and I think this is visibly showing people that they are the ones that are keeping the shelves stocked and us happy and healthy in our own homes with plentiful food, and we hope that continues.